Welcome back to Get Real with Jack and Cindy. I'm Cindy Morrison.
And I'm Jack Wallace. We're glad you're here.
Last week, we got on a tangent about a bunch of stuff.
Well, mostly about the new agents in our program. Back to the stuff for the rest of the public. I think that's really where we need to go.
Yes. So we are going to pick back up with last week's episode where we're talking about the current market here in Tulsa. Let's talk about now the market. You know, in January, the national media was going on and on and on about how it was such a horrible market. Things have downturned, in a downward spiral. I think I even heard someone say. So let's talk about what we're hearing from the national media this year in 2025 and what the market is actually like. What do you think?
I think we're probably in for another 2024 and 2025, which was, I mean, to be honest, it was one of the slowest markets we've had in a long time, but I think we're still a little bit in the holding pattern that we were in because of the low interest rates. I think that's part of it. I mean, we are seeing a tremendous amount of transactions happening right now. We are. And I think that we're getting a lot of pent-up demand is coming forward, but we're still not, when inventory is going up a little bit, but there's still, to a lot of people, there's still a lack of inventory for a lot of what people are looking for. I think the biggest issue we're going to have is just, and this is where we both are so passionate about, but some of those new buyers, those younger entering the market buyers are having to wait so much longer till they can enter the market, that I think that's really kind of going to be a little bit of a holdout, and we're going to have to come up with solutions for that.
Just last month, I closed 3 brand new home buyers, first time home buyers. And that I've never had that many.
I love them.
They're so excited. It's so fun to educate them. But I haven't had 3 in a month ever in my career. So I think people are beginning to toe back into the market. Here in Tulsa, it's still a seller's market. The inventory, like you said, is not where it has been in past markets. Prices are staying flat, going up a little from last year. It is swinging a little bit more to the buyers, but still a seller's market. So if you're a buyer and you need to buy, don't wait for the right time. Start looking now. And when you find that right house, you can figure out if that is the right house for you at the right time. But yeah,
I also think, though, it's kind of gotten to the place where we have to get, I saw a thing today, a realtor laying back on a table, fanning himself, getting ready for the 2025 market, where the buyers believe it's 2008 and the sellers believe it's 2021. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's like we have to come to the beginning of understanding that the market has changed. I mean, my God, our government has changed. Everything has changed, and stock market is going up and down. I think there's just a lot of, and it's not political. I'm just saying there's a lot of change and a lot of volatility right now. And the markets do not like volatility. They don't like up and down. However, what does happen in markets like this, I keep saying this and I believe it. What does happen, because I've done this a long time, people get tired of their money going up and down in the stock market. And oftentimes they start taking cash that they have on the side, or they take money out and they put it into real estate.
Buy dirt.
Yeah. And I think it's like they can just justify that they can put it there to shelter and hold it. It's also a way of tying up cash where you don't have to go FDIC and go to a bunch of different banks. I mean, I think that happens quite a bit in markets like this. So we could see a little bit of a shift in that direction. But my biggest passion right now is we just need to figure out how to get more young people into, once they can afford to do it, we got to make sure that they're buying the right thing. And I think that's the other thing too. We got to change the expectation of what a first house is going to be.
It's not your forever home. I mean, it may be, but very rarely is that the case.
Well, let's be honest. So when interest rates were as low as they were, a lot of people bought their first home as their potentially forever home because it was so reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have those interest rates anymore, and we're not going to have those for a while. I mean, if ever. So now you have to look at it from a different perspective. That's the one thing. I'm a geek. Remember that.
We're both such geeks.
But the reverse engineering of your mortgage payment of your mortgage is really something to think about. Like everybody freaks out about the interest rates, and then they just automatically poo-poo buying a house, which is fine, except you may never buy a house if you keep on that. I mean, like that, having been in when I first started like when I first got licensed at 18, I mean, interest rates were like, I think 18% or 17%.
That's when
I
my
mean,
mom sold real estate.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and things sold and people bought. But the one thing I think we have to remember is that now you have to look at it from the standpoint of you may have to go, like, let's say, what is your monthly payment you can afford? Like that, you can meet. What are you paying in rent that you can hit every month?
Mm-hmm.
And could you do a little bit more or a little bit less? So then you take that and then you reverse engineer to find out what you can afford. Don't let the bank say, oh yeah, you're qualified for this, you can get this house. So, okay, I'm qualified for this amount on my credit card. Do I go out immediately and put that balance on it? No, I don't, because I can't afford that. So look at that and then figure out what you can afford. Now, if you can pay, so let's say the $2,000 payment is what you're comfortable with. Let's say you get a mortgage that's $1,700. So that's like a $300,000 house at 7% interest. Yes, I'm a geek. But yes, that's so if then we go, okay, well, let's go to 1,700. And now we're at like 255 is where we can qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get a house for 255. So then what if I put the 300 extra? I got the 255 loan, so my payment is 1,700, but I put an extra 300 every month. I can shave 8 years of interest off of my
That's a
payment.
lot.
It's $112,000 less interest on a $255,000 house. That's less. That's not the total. That's less.
Right.
So you start looking at that and you reverse engineer your interest rate. I think it makes it like the interest rate equivalent would be like a 5% compared to a 7%. So you can, the market has its price, but you have yours. And you got to find yours. And so I think that's where you got to have people that know what they're doing and really are going to work with you to do that. The other thing too is asking for people to buy down interest rates whenever you're buying a house. Let's say you find a $300,000 house and you can get them down 20 or 15,000, but instead of taking off the price, you pay that amount of money and then you have them put it towards buying a point off or 2 points off or whatever of your interest rate. Suddenly your payment is lower and then you make the extra payment. I mean, there's so many ways to play this, guys. There's so many ways to play it, but you got to play it smart and just going to the bank and saying, how much can I afford? And then going out it's not the way to do it. And I think that's where we've run into. So I think when I hear people say they can't afford to do it anymore, I believe that to a degree. They can't do it the way we were doing it 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But there's a way to do it. There is a way to do it. You may have to, go back to a smaller house. But I mean, I live in a small house. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, you don't have to have a 3,000 square foot house.
I
if
have
you can
a whole-
afford that, that's great. Or, whatever.
I have a whole upstairs I never see.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to start or to go down. The other thing too is that people don't talk about is we're going to have some people that bought well, their payment is low, but now they're having a hard time paying their insurance, their taxes, the upkeep, the heat, the air. I mean, everything else has gone up. So their payment is lower because of their percentage rate, but yet their expenses have gone up. So a lot of those people are going to have to make a change, even though they don't want to give up that interest rate.
So you talk to buyers there. I'm going to talk to sellers. It's amazing since 2020, 2021, 2022, how people have a very inflated idea of what the price of their home is.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. If you overprice in this market, your home will sit. I mean, you better have the most amazing unicorn with sparkles coming from the heavens if you're going to overprice your house and get it sold. A great idea is to undervalue it a little and possibly get in multiple offers. But let me give you an example. I just looked this up for uh, how many homes in Tulsa since 2025 have sold for asking, just right around asking, 29%.
Wow.
How many homes sold below asking? It's 48%. So you had some that came over. I mean,
Wait a minute. 48 plus 29 equals, what are the others?
whatever the other one was is how many people. I'm not doing math in my head right now. I'm not gonna attempt that. I remember those two numbers.
Sorry.
No, but that means those homes sold above.
Got it.
asking.
Okay.
Yeah, so you had above asking, right around asking, and below asking. Smarty pants. So
do you know what the average was? Like, is it 97, 98%? I want to say it was like 97, but the problem with that number, sorry, I'm so sorry. I really am.
Let me just throw you in the hole, Cindy.
The problem is
you're knowledgeable, but not knowledgeable enough.
No, I'm not saying that. No, the thing that's so interesting about that statistic to me, though, is that, like, honestly, it's surprising to me that 29% did.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, but it's also that is the last list price to sales price, not the original list price. So
you exactly
how many
right.
reductions, and I bet that's where the gap is.
Yep, I'll
the
bet
gap
you
is
so
there,
too.
So yeah, but
if you overprice your house, I promise you it will sit there. If you and next week we're going to talk about appraisals and zestimates and stuff like that. But really listen to your agent, look at the comps of your neighborhood, and not just your neighborhood, but like homes in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of different ways to come up with the amount, but
Zestimate is an estimate
by AI.
And,
there's not a person involved.
And we love AI, but it's not looking at your house. It is not looking at your neighbor. It is not looking at your neighbor. It is just looking at your square foot. It's looking at what the tax assessor, when they said, is it above average? I mean, it gives you an idea.
Right.
But,
but it doesn't know that you just remodeled your kitchen 100%. And put in granite or added a pool or, whatever you've done.
And a CMA is what a realtor does, which is a current market analysis. Sounds a lot better because it's really about analyzing the current market with your house. And then there's the appraisal, which we're going to get into the differences. But one of the things I've had an issue with in the last year or 2 years is the appraisers are coming in, like having a house, somebody has a house appraised before they put it on the market, which isn't a terrible idea to get an idea, but they were pricing them so high that because they were pricing them from 6 months before, that then we put the house on the market. Well, then it was overpriced because the market had changed so much. So they were able to justify that price based on the last 6 months, but the market had shifted. Mm-hmm. Where when you were looking at current market analysis with a really good agent, the pendings, even though we don't know what they sold for, the pendings are telling us a lot. Mm-hmm. Because the pendings are what have happened in the last 30, 45 days, right? So that's where you look at so it's not just closing, it's not just active, there's so much analysis that has to go into it.
And also when you're pricing your house, so we're going to look at the current market analysis of what homes have sold for in, let's say, the last 6 months, like homes in your neighborhood. So you have that to look back, mm-hmm. But your competition for selling your house are all the homes that are currently on the market. Mm-hmm. So I like to look at the two of 100%. Them because, yes, one may tell you the value of your home, but the value and what everyone else is doing, the last thing you want is the house next door sells because, their house is priced and it has a pool and this time of year pools are super popular. So
no, just keep
in mind, you need to look at what's on the market as well.
And I just think it's really, this comes down to we've had to change and come up to where the market is too. I mean, it was such an abrupt change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the only time I remember being this much of a change that fast was 2008. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that was a very similar, I wasn't really that active around September the 11th, but I know it was a similar kind of thing. But it's like that was just like something happened, and it's like the market just kind of went in a completely different direction overnight, and that really happened with this. I mean, we really went from like the best of times within a year, within the same year.
Yep.
We went from the best of
2024.
times to like what? And so now 2025, we're in okay, this is the market we are in.
Because we couldn't sustain 20 through 22. There was no way to sustain that. So now we're normalizing. I think might be the the pendulum swung one way, then it kind of swung the other for 6, 8, 9 months.
But the problem with normalizing, I think, is that what is the new normal is what we're trying to find, because, when you look at national statistics, we need lots of houses. We need because we have demand and we just don't have them, which would mean builders should be building and making more houses. But then builders are up against all of these increases in pricing and land cost. So then those houses are suddenly not really that accessible for the buyers that are really starting out and wanting to get into the market. So we have, and then, there's this, it cracks me up, honestly. I'm sorry if anyone's watching that's offended by this, but there's like this deep resentment between the baby boomers and the youngest people. Like they think that the baby boomers aren't letting go of their houses. And so that's why they're keeping their house, or they're selling them for way too much. Well, I mean, that is the way the market works. And we have a tremendously different aging population who was terrified of not being able to take care of themselves in their older age, which rightfully so. And so they have prepared to live in their home as they age and stay in place. So we're in a lot of different things. We have so many things happening at one time. It's kind of exciting because how are we going to solve this?
Right.
And that's, again, anyone who thinks that AI is going to take over and you're not going to need agents,
yeah,
really, because these are the things that we all have to figure out and then implement. Maybe we use that to analyze and come up with solutions, and that's great. But in the end of the day, we have to put those pieces together, and we have to bring people together and make it work. So sellers, that is really important there. You are so right. It's and I think we as agents have taken those listings because you could justify it. I mean, you could look back at the 6 months and you think, well, they don't want to leave money on the table. And I understand that. I mean, I don't want to leave money on the table for them. But in the same respect, we used to call that buying a listing. And I think that everyone has had to buy some listings because that was where the market, the headspace was for sellers. And you know what? The other side is, if you don't want to sell it for less than what you have in your brain, that's okay. But maybe you just shouldn't be having your house put on the market at this time.
Right.
So I think that's going to be an interesting thing.
I prefer to be the first agent to list a house, but I love being the second agent when that first agent was like, oh, your house is worth this much versus I said the house is worth this much, a little lower. And so they go with the agent that gave them the higher price. Well, they can't sell it. The house is sitting there, and they come back to me. And sure enough, now we're at the price where I told them the house needed to be in the first place, and it sells.
And the difficult part too is that people knowingly are putting it at a really high price, but then whenever you're in the process, it's hard at times because you're kind of getting beaten up. Like, what is the feedback? It's too high. It's too high. It's too high. Well, what about this? That's not what they like, the house,
right?
But it's too high. And then the other thing is, so Oklahoma. The other thing is, why don't they just make an offer? Because we're polite here.
Yes. Trying to explain that to people, especially if they've come from the north, and you're like, why won't they just make an offer? Because they don't want to offend you. I look at it as an offer as a place to start, even if we're way
My dad was
apart.
Southern and he had no problem making offers.
But he also was in the business.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? That's the other thing too. I think residential real estate is so interesting, and I think one of the reasons I love it so much is because you've got two different players. You have the emotion, like it is emotional. It is my house. I raised my kids here. I brought my babies home. We've had bar mitzvahs here. We had weddings. I mean, like all those things, right? The emotion that's attached to that house. And then you have the buyers who want to do all those things in the future. So you've got those things going, and it's like the most important, and finding the perfect thing. Oh,
my phone is on do not disturb, but that is my husband calling. So
but then you have the people that are the non-emotional, that are like, it is transactional, it's a rental property or whatever. And those are the ones that are so interesting whenever you're putting them together.
Right.
Like you just, and people say, why don't they just bring an offer? And then people do, and they get so offended.
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22. Like we have to prepare you.
Look at you taking deep breath.
We have to prepare you. We do. And I think, but again, in our defense as professionals, we've had to catch our breath, and we've had to go, okay, you're right. In the last 6 months ago, yeah, this house sold for that. It's not showing that right now, but yeah, so it did. And I'm sorry that it no longer is there, but that's where we are. So sometimes we're beating our heads against a wall trying to convince somebody of that, and it sounds like we're saying their houses, they take it as a personal offense,
right?
Because we're insulting their house, and it's not that. It's like we are, and I always say this: there's no news. I mean, there's no good news, there's no bad news. There's just news. So like when I have to deliver it, I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying this is bad. This is what it is. Because if I shade it one way or the other, then that automatically makes them feel like they have to be looking at it that way. I can't decide how you're going to look at it.
Right.
I can't. And it's not my job to make that happen. My job is to tell you this is where we are. Now, whatever you want to do about it, I will help you implement it one way or the other.
Right.
And that's where we are with pricing.
And, your house, your money. Absolutely. But we do this day in and day out. This isn't a hobby for us. This isn't something we do part-time. And so,
and it's expensive.
Listen to what the agent is saying.
And it's expensive for us to market your house. It is expensive for us to maintain. And so the other thing too is that at a certain point, you put the house in the market knowing it's high, and that's great. But for the agent, they have to prioritize because they have to make a living. And so it's not that you're not going to get good service. It's just, it's kind of the understanding that we're putting this house out there in case there's somebody who is willing to pay it.
Right.
But we know that's not the general market. So when we talk about a demographic buyer, we're talking about finding the unicorn, and that's a very different marketing technique than this house is priced to sell, ready to go. Let's go.
Right.
So you just need to know when you list it that, all those things are there. And someone can tell you differently. They can. But I think it's just the natural progression of the listing.
Yeah. Well, but I think that the bottom line is, yes, homes have stayed flat over the year, but they've still been up over the last few years.
And we're a good market. I mean, we are a good market. Tulsa is a growing, thriving place, and we should be very, very happy. Even though not everybody's getting what they want right now, we have maintained, we have survived, and we have grown. And I think we've also diversified. It used to be we lived and died by oil, and we don't anymore.
Yeah, we're very diversified compared to what we used to be. And I just did a social media post on people who are moving in to Oklahoma, or specifically Tulsa. And it was New York City, LA, Chicago, Dallas. But as I was looking, all of those places have a very high cost of living, and their average home price is certainly not where we are at about $250,000 for a median price of a home. And So, they're coming here because it is more affordable and they do want to live, achieve that American dream.
I just read an article that we are the number 2 state for being able to save money.
Huh. Interesting. What was number 1?
Arkansas. I think. No. Tennessee. It's Tennessee.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. Yeah. But it's, we're the number 2. And so when you look at and Texas was like 34th. So that's really great, though, if you think about it from the standpoint of you, especially we're also an young entrepreneurial city. So that's exciting to me to think, okay, so we get young entrepreneurs in Tulsa. We can help them be here and save money so then they can afford to get into homes and they can start their wealth building. Because let's face it, every statistic when you read, and I know we preach this all the time, when you read the statistics about net worth of a renter compared to a homeowner, it is startling.
Yes.
So don't be mad. If you're young and upset, don't be mad to the point that you just check out because you're angry. Do something about it. And like we said, change your priority a little bit. Find someone who can help you figure this out. But if you're making a decent amount of money, you should be able to afford a house.
And get together with a local lender who can help you get things in order. You may be closer than you think. You may be further than you think. So having that person being able to walk through your finances of what you need to do, should do, don't do anymore, they're going to be your lifeline for that.
And sellers, you need to be ready for people to come in and have creative ideas of how to buy your house. I see a lot of people that are still holding on to, I'm not paying closing costs. I'm not doing this. Who cares? Get over it.
Yeah.
Because
do you want to sell your house or not?
And if you will take $5,000 less from the price, then pay $5,000 in closing costs, but it makes no difference to you. Let's just say that really loud and clear. It is the bottom line number that matters to you as a seller. So let the buyer do what they need to do to get the house to work for them. Stop holding on to this idea that you're somehow giving them. I have had deals that I could not come together, and it's been years. It has been a year since this happened. But when I was first starting out, I had so many deals blow because people they would take $5,000 less, but they would not pay $5,000 in closing costs and it's the same, but they would not do it because in their mind, they were giving them something, and that they can't afford to buy it. They can afford to buy it, but they need the cash tied up.
And don't do something on principle.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are, well, it's the principle of the thing. I'm not going down. Well, you could be closed in 30 days with 5,000 less if you'll kind of let that go. And let's look at the reality of the situation and how badly do you want to sell your house.
Yeah.
I'm also seeing a lot of contingent offers coming in now.
I'm so conflicted about that.
About seeing contingent. Well, and I've had several now. Never fails. You get a contingent offer in. It's like catnip to cats. The cats come in and everybody's making an offer. And
you get the opposite where people don't show it because they don't want to deal with a contingency. I mean, I think it's very double-sided on that one.
Yeah.
You have to kind of be prepared for both.
I've had all of mine go this year, go through, close, but it was different things. Yes, they could remove the contingency. No, they couldn't. And I'm seeing a lot of people asking for closing costs, point buy downs, things that we haven't seen since 2019.
And I think it's brilliant because, like I was talking about reverse engineering your mortgage rate. That's the way to reverse engineer it. Like, okay, I can do a $275,000 comfortably. The house listed at $300,000. I offer the 3 minus 25. I mean, like just throwing that out there. If the listing's been on for a long time and no one, maybe they'll take it. Maybe they won't. And that gets into go ahead and approach, making the offer.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, what good things have you been streaming on TV? We talked a long time ago about ending sort of on what we're enjoying watching. So what?
I really like that Argentina.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it.
I mean, it's I'm what I really love about things right now is that I think it's so exciting to really get to immerse yourself in another country's culture like that and to see how really different they are.
Yeah.
Like we think everyone is just sort of a version of us. And they really are very distinct. So I think that's really, and it's very, I mean, it's kind of like, a survival movie or series, but it is set in completely Argentina and about them, not about anything else. So I really have enjoyed that a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah. The diamond heist thing. There's a diamond heist. There's 3 episodes, and it's about these guys who decided to steal the world's largest diamond from De Beers out of the, and it was really good. Yeah.
Do you remember what streaming? Netflix. Okay. Well, I have to tell you, The Last of Us. Have you watched that at all?
Not, and everyone is talking about it.
That season 2, episode 2. My son just had his wisdom teeth out, so I was in Dallas taking care of him. So we're just sitting and streaming stuff. Episode 2, season 2 is one of the most intense things I have ever seen on television.
I have to check it out.
So if you don't like zombies, just skip it. But it's Pascal. I'm trying to think of his name, but I love the cast.
I love it if you don't like zombies.
Yeah,
I love zombies.
Well, some people, like my husband, would be like, hard pass on that. Hard pass. Superheroes and zombies, he's out of here.
Love it. I love it.
Awesome. Well, all right. I'm glad we're back in the seat of doing our podcast. Took a few little weeks off there, and
gave you all a break.
Yeah.
But we're back.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everybody have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.